What we have here is a story about a company that is, by all accounts, an absolute giant in its field, a true global leader. But it's also a story about a company standing at a critical crossroads, where this incredible promise for the future is clashing head-on with some very, very real dangers in the present. This is Vitrolife's high-stakes gamble.
But before we dive into the numbers and the strategy, let's just start with a really human question. How is a modern family made? For millions of people around the world, the answer to that involves a deeply personal, often really difficult journey.
And right at the heart of that journey, you'll find one company. Think about this. The World Health Organization estimates that 1 in every 6 adults faces infertility. And this single company, it serves 3/4 of all the fertility clinics on the entire planet. That company is Vitrolife.
Okay, so to really get a grip on the challenges Vitrolife is facing right now, we first have to understand why it's been so incredibly successful for so long. This is the bull case. This is the foundation of their dominance.
So how'd they do it? Well, at its core, Vitrolife's strategy is a business school classic, the razor and blade model. They sell a big piece of essential equipment, like their flagship EmbryoScope incubator. That's the razor. But once a clinic has that machine, they're basically locked in. They have to keep buying Vitrolife's proprietary disposables for every single IVF cycle. Those are the blades. And that creates this beautiful, steady stream of high-margin recurring revenue.
And here's where it gets really clever. Vitrolife has built what they call an unbroken chain of products. They cover pretty much every critical step in the IVF lab, from retrieving the egg all the way to freezing the embryos. So for a clinic, switching away from Vitrolife isn't as simple as just buying a different product. It means disrupting their entire, carefully calibrated workflow. The costs to switch are just incredibly high.
And here's what that looks like in terms of how they make money. Genetics is their biggest slice of the pie. Right behind it are the consumables, the recurring blades. Now, technologies, the razors, like the EmbryoScope, might look like the smallest piece, but don't be fooled. That right there is the key that locks in the other two much bigger revenue streams.
So when you put it all together, what you get is a really powerful competitive moat. Vitrolife's success isn't just about having good products. It's built on being the tech leader, having a premium brand that clinicians trust with their patients' hopes, and this deep integration that makes them an absolutely essential partner.
And if you need proof of that trust, look at this number. Their Net Promoter Score is 53. Now, for the medical device field, that is an exceptionally high score. It shows their customers aren't just happy, they're loyal advocates. But that's where the good news part of our story, for now, kind of stops.
Because despite all of those incredible strengths, Vitrolife has sailed directly into what you can only call a perfect storm. So now, let's look at the bear case. And believe me, it's serious.
Just look at this. This is the company's core profitability, its EBITDA margin. Just 1 year apart, it completely collapsed. It went from a super healthy 34.7% down to 27.8%. For a premium company like this, that isn't just a dip. That's a dramatic, alarming decline.
Let's put a number on that drop. That's a loss of 700 basis points. That's 7 full percentage points of profitability gone. In the world of finance, that's not a crack in the foundation. That's a chasm opening up. So the big question is, what on earth could cause something so severe?
Well, it wasn't just one single thing. It was this brutal combination of factors that all hit at the exact same time. You had severe currency headwinds, major market slowdowns in China and the US, ongoing weakness in their genetics business, and rising costs across the board. Just a perfect storm.
But of all those problems, the company itself points to one main culprit. Because Vitrolife is a Swedish company that sells its products all over the world, a strengthening Swedish krona was absolutely devastating to their reported earnings. It was the single biggest driver of all this recent pain.
Okay, so we've got the dominant market-leading company from the bull case and the battered, struggling one from the bear case. So what's the path forward? Well, Vitrolife is making a massive, and I mean massive, high-stakes pivot to try and secure its future.
This quote from their own materials says it all. Vitrolife doesn't just want to sell individual products anymore. The new vision is to become the provider of the entire digital operating system for the modern IVF clinic. The whole shebang.
And the key to making this all happen, the absolute linchpin of this new strategy, is their recent acquisition of a company called eFertility. They make specialized clinic software. This was the missing digital piece of the puzzle they needed to connect all of their hardware and all of their consumables into one seamless platform.
This move completely changes the game for them. They're trying to shift from just selling products to providing a whole ecosystem, from selling hardware and consumables to selling hardware, software, and data. The goal here is to transform simple transactional relationships into deeply embedded partnerships. And look, if they can pull this off, their competitive moat could become wider than ever before.
Which brings us right to the core conflict here, right? The central dilemma for anyone looking at this company. It's a classic battle between this really compelling, exciting vision for the future and a very, very difficult reality in the present. It really is a story of promise versus peril.
Now let's talk valuation. If you stack Vitrolife up against its peers, it still trades at a premium. You can see its EV to EBITDA multiple, a key metric, is 16.2 times, which is higher than its main rival, Cooper Companies. And historically, you could argue its superior performance absolutely justified that premium.
But here is the problem. That justification has started to erode. While Vitrolife's margin for the whole year is still a little bit ahead, its most recent quarterly result of 27.8% has actually fallen below Cooper's. So this data forces you to ask a really tough question. Is that premium valuation still deserved today? So if you're watching this company, here's your dashboard. These are the key things to monitor. First, can they get those profit margins back up? Can they reignite growth in their core businesses? Critically, will clinics actually adopt this new digital platform? And finally, will huge external factors like the major markets and, of course, currency work for them or against them? The answers to these questions will decide everything.
And this all leaves us with one final massive question. Vitrolife is in a race. It's sprinting towards this incredible digital future that can make it stronger and more dominant than ever. But the pressures of today, the currency, the costs, the slowdowns, are very real, and they're taking their toll right now. The entire investment case boils down to this. Will that digital future arrive before these present-day pressures win?